Who would have thought that a legacy player like Tata Motors would be leading the fast-paced EV race? And not just leading, it has left every other manufacturer way behind in the dust. Tata Motors EV success story is something that the history books will remember, and it has just crossed the 100,000 marks. That's 100,000 electric Tata cars on the road. And on this occasion, we are going to be talking to the man behind this charge, behind this fantastic achievement, Shailesh Chandra, President of Tata Motors and the man leading the EV charge. Shailesh, congratulations first. Thanks very much for talking to us. Before we jump into the Tiago EV, which by the way is the best-selling EV in the country today, were you expecting 100,000 cars so fast?
First, thank you for all the compliments that you gave. I think it has been a very satisfying journey. Um, and 1 lakh is the number that we are going to hit. Uh, it's been a journey, if you see, a transformational journey from where we started. While 1 lakh is just a number, but the transformation that has happened behind this is the key message for us. And it is satisfying to see that how the customer mindset, which was absolutely not there at the start of this journey, say 5 years back in 2018, it has completely transformed in these 4 5 years from where we started. The mindset of suppliers, the ecosystem players, where when we went to them 5 years back, they said we don't believe in this story. Customers felt that this was a car for the future, not for the present. Uh, Charging infra, nobody was ready to invest because everybody would like to invest when there are
That's right.
say 1 lakh cars on
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah.
And fast forward the situation and see what is today. The customer mindset has transformed much faster than what we had anticipated. The charging infra and the interest that you are seeing has also transformed. Supplier base, earlier we were running behind them, today they want to invest and
Right.
want to work with us. So it has been transformational. Your question on whether we had anticipated this kind of growth, absolutely not, Hormazd.
Absolutely
We had,
not.
we would have been a fraction of this as per the plan if what we had, chalked out at the start of the.
Well, it's amazing, yeah, getting first to the market, that's important. But I think, Shailesh, let's do one thing. Let's jump into the Tiago EV and get into that thick of traffic, because really I think that's the sort of environment also which kind of lends itself to EVs like yours. So we're going to go for a drive and continue our conversation with Shailesh in the car. So, Shailesh, how important was it being first to the market? You really got in there quick, ICE conversion. People were skeptical about it, but and hypothetically, if you'd come into a crowded market, would you have the same rate of success? Probably not. But just the timing, I think, just your comments on that.
When you talk about timing, Hormuz, one that if you go back to 2018, as I said that the whole market was not ready for electrification.
Yeah.
So one could not say that the timing was right?
You think you could have been early?
No, I'm saying the typical decision that you make in a business of when is the right timing, you need at least some of the enablers to be in place. When we entered, there were no enablers which are in place, right? So it was actually a bet that we took, right? And we took a bet because one, as a group, we felt this is the right thing to do, right?
Right.
If government has come with a vision of 2030, and the triggers for that was the pollution in
Right.
India, in big cities that we have, the dependence on fuel import, and the climate change issue. I think these were the triggers. If this is the right thing to do,
Yeah.
let us enter this segment, right? That was the whole reason why we entered. So it was not about, from a business decision perspective, typically how timings are seen.
Right.
It was not right. It is a bet that we took, right?
Okay,
That is
so it
number
was a
one.
bit of a gamble at that
It
point.
was a gamble, but it was not a gamble without mitigating the risks underlying that.
Right, and obviously the ICE strategy helped a lot. And
Correct. Therefore, the
already had
Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3
Correct.
was the mitigation strategy.
And
for
you
us.
had an investment already in Nexon done, which is the broader investment. The electrification part was a much minor level.
Correct.
I would think.
I would say that it was just a 1/10 investment of what you would do in a full car
Really?
in Gen 1. So that was not a big exposure that we are getting into. But what was seen as more important, that if this is the journey, eventual end state of the automotive, you know, other players will decide when they have to enter, but for us what was important, that any new tech, you have to go through the journey of knowledge to expertise, right? And knowledge to expertise journey requires multiple iterations of hits and trials, right? And then you iterate and gain more knowledge of the used case and where your vehicles are operating, and therefore you keep refining the technology. It's a journey. Anybody wants to enter today in an Indian market has to go through that journey of knowledge to expertise. And I think for us that was important. That we enter early and gain this knowledge, which is going to help us in long term. And the learning curve has been very steep. The idea was that yes, there will be niggling issues because it's a new technology in a new environment, and this will face certain problems, and therefore the initial set of customers had to face more problems, I would say more on the fleet side, as compared to Nexon was still quite mature, coming out of learning from our fleet experience, and therefore uh, just a minute, therefore I thought that that experience gave us a lot of learning, and Nexon therefore more or less was a perfected vehicle, to the extent of knowledge that we got. Then we did got some niggling problems, but the idea was that we respond to those problems fast in doing the root cause analysis, doing combination of immediate corrective actions and permanent corrective actions. And today the technology has matured a lot. There are very lesser problems today than we see, but we have gone through those journeys of niggling problems that you said.
And coming to the market, this explosion in, you earlier said you didn't expect people or customers to embrace EVs to the extent they did. What are the drivers there? You spoke about all the drivers were not there, but now what are the drivers that have kind of got them to embrace it, and the demand has gone beyond expectations?
Yes, you're absolutely right, because I said that this is not what we had expected. What has really helped us from the time we started, and say, for example, when we launched Nexon, we had not expected that the volumes, which started at 300 numbers per month, would peak at 3,000 a month. Just Nexon. I mean, that is not consistent with the volume curve that we see in a life cycle of any product. Why it happened? Because one, the initial adopters, right, who are very passionate people, yeah, they are very expressive, and they did not shy from sharing their experience on the social media. And there were a lot of fence sitters. If you
So you're saying there was a lot of good word of mouth, which was
There was a lot of good word of mouth, which gave the comfort to a lot of fence sitters. That this is a practical car, it is being used as a daily use car. There is a comfort of charging because you get a charger installed at your home. So for practically all the, for practical purpose, it is a very good car to use. Many customers, came and said that we thought that we'll use this as a second car. Uh, but they started using as their primary car, and then only car. They actually disposed of their ICE vehicle when they got that comfort. So all those stories came. People also started giving stories that they are also going on the highways. So I think word of mouth has been one of the key reasons behind this steep growth. Number two, I think, meanwhile, the state governments also came with a lot of incentives to promote electrification.
That's the point I wanted to come to, Shailesh, is government's role. 5% GST, fantastic, and even the state government. I think we've got to hand it to the governments. They've really played their part in this. And I really think, something like a 5% GST when you see cars at, 28 plus, and this at just 5, and no road tax on a lot of them. I'm sure this must be a big driver. And flip question is, what if this is taken away? What would it do to demand? Want your thoughts on that as well?
You're absolutely right that this is one of the key enablers, right? While the FAME incentive was not available to the personal buyers, but a 5% GST, road tax, and registration waiver has been a significant contribution in terms of offsetting the higher cost impact of an electric vehicle. So that has been definitely the key enabler, I would say. The other thing the government has done through FAME 2, that it gave a reference to the state governments also to take the eligibility criteria from that, while kind of coming with these state policies. But if you see Maharashtra, Gujarat and all, they came with
Right.
very progressive policies. I'll give you a statistics that before the incentives, we were selling about 100 vehicles a month in
Right.
Maharashtra. Post the incentive, it went up to 900,000. And after the incentive was taken away, it is stabilized at 700, 750. So the role of these incentives have been big. And the question, the converse question that you asked, what happens
Yeah, what happens
if
when
these are
subsidies
taken
goes?
away?
Because honestly,
So
subsidies
I
are going
have
to last forever.
partially answered one part where I said that from 100 it went up to a 900 and stabilized at 750.
Right.
So when you get the market into the habit of buying electric vehicle, and when the cars are seen on the roads, there's greater confidence
Right.
of people to therefore adopt. So that's one. But I would say the role of the 5% GST is a big one, because see, battery prices have not come down
Right.
to the level where the cost gap versus
be
the ICE
offset,
can be
yeah.
bridged to the expectation level of the customer. Typically, you have seen that the support and incentives start going down. Taking example of some of the markets which have attained more than 25,000 penetration, you start doing at a level of 18 to 20% penetration.
Right.
Today, India is at 2.5% penetration.
That's the whole point. We are way behind other developed markets where the rate of penetration and growth is much higher. So while we are, excited, and you all have actually led the way. I mean, out of that 1.5, you all are, about 80-90% of it. Which really isn't great if you look at it from an industry standpoint. You don't have too many other players actually contributing to that percentage. So, it's not great news that way. So, I don't know what more needs to be done. I think a lot to do on charging infra, which we'll come to later, but we aren't really that, it's not such great growth in absolute numbers if you look at it.
Yeah, I think that's the present state, right? If 2 years back we were discussing Hormuz, this number would have been 0.2, 0.3%.
Right.
This has moved to 2.5%.
Yeah.
Which
Small
itself,
base, lot of growth, but
yes,
still a small base.
it is still a small base, because the industry will go through this journey, because now you are seeing players announcing their
Their plans.
So
Right.
they are going to come with more products.
Shailesh, I'm going to stop you right there. The chairman in the AGM said, lot many more EVs coming, 4 new EVs coming in what seems to be the space of 12 months, hinted at a more rugged EV. So I don't know whether he's let out too much, but could you add anything to that? Yeah.
No, I think he's right. He's very much aware of the plans that we have, and that statement is right. Uh, which models are going to come remains the suspense.
Right.
But out of those models which have been mentioned, two we have already declared in the
Right.
Auto Expo.
Correct.
One
Yeah,
is
the
Curve
Sienna,
and the other one is
Harrier.
Yeah, the other one is Harrier EV. We have already declared that it comes in 2024.
Right.
Let the rest two of them be a suspense for us.
Okay, great. We'll obviously dig around to find out. But Shailesh, coming back again to going forward, charging infrastructure. Do you think this is now turning out to be the biggest challenge? Because let's say people have accepted the cost. Range is fairly decent. It's not really low voltage kind of ranges anymore. But charging infra seems to be a challenge. I mean, even when I drive on the highway, sometimes now I'll see another Nexon in front of me. It's not completely khali, the charging point. And also they're still far and few between. It's not fast. The 25, 50 kilowatt up speeds. RWAs in town are still giving issues. Do you think this is really turning out to be right now the biggest bottleneck?
Let me put it this way, that it has improved first, right, from where we were. I remember that 2 years
but if
back.
you look at the volume of EVs on the road, obviously
Yes.
that has outpaced the
That
growth
is
of
correct.
charging infra.
And that is also one part of the answer, that there's growing confidence
Right.
on the charging solutions. I'm
Right.
not saying charging infra, because overall charging solution is a combination of home charging, residential complex charging, and the highway charging, all
Right.
in combination. And it has progressed to a level, from a zero level, it has gone up to now 6,500, public chargers available.
Right.
Nearly 1,500 of residential complex chargers in 5 cities, and more than 100,000 now home charging, right? So
Right.
it has evolved to a level. At this stage, whether you have reached the level of comfort, the answer is no. As you rightly said, still, while for the city use, there is a high degree of comfort,
Right.
And in one of our interactions, you mentioned also that for city use, why anybody should be even thinking now
Correct.
something else apart from
Absolutely.
electric vehicle.
No, for
The
cities
challenge,
it's a no-brainer.
the
The challenge is
challenge-
on the highways.
the challenge on the highways is the only reason what I think is holding people
Right.
from buying electric vehicle. So no question that this is one area which has to really progress fast. And all the things that you said, it has to, one, become more faster, right? It has to be more number of chargers in one single location.
Right.
That has to change. And on top of that, you also have to increase the range of the cars,
Right.
Which, for example, as per our plan, we are doing it progressively as the battery prices are coming down. Instead of giving a price reduction, we are increasing the range.
Right.
So combination of all these are going to help. Now government has also started mandating the oil companies, oil manufacturing OMCs, to put
have a
chargers,
charging point,
right?
yeah.
And they are providing all kind of support there, and you will already start seeing that OMCs are also putting the chargers on their
Right.
retail outlets and all. And you're also seeing a lot of startups in this space which are going
Right.
to come. OEMs are also going to invest a bit in their branded chargers. So, imagine 2 years from now, this situation should further improve, and it should improve at a much faster pace than what you have seen the progress in the last 2 to 3 years.
Right.
With the combination of all these actions, I think the situation should be much better than the status which you are seeing today.
Right.
Hormazd. Yeah.
And Shailesh is looking ahead at the future. Clearly, it's been a dream run. You weren't able to predict 100,000 in 5 years, which is quite amazing. I mean, it was beyond your wildest expectation. Clearly, looking into a crystal ball is the key, but very, very difficult. Forecasting, I think, is a very risky business these days.
Yeah.
So, what's your best guess of how the market will be, let's say, in the next 5 years? And obviously, a lot of new EVs coming. We are right now at 1.52% of total market. So, obviously, the chairman has also indicated that you all want to increase your share of electrified vehicles in the range and your total sales as well. But just wanted to get, how do you see the whole, let's say, market going towards electrification? Obviously, it will be faster, but how much faster?
So, as you rightly said, it is very difficult to project, right? As I said, that all projections went wrong for the right reasons,
Yeah.
right? And in the right direction, I would say.
Happily, they went wrong.
Yes. The way we approach Hormazd is that we fix our number,
Right.
of what we want to do
Right.
in this market in a certain time period.
Right.
And then it is about backward working of why this will happen, right? In terms
Right.
of the products that would be needed, in terms of the opening of new micro markets across the country. So as you know that we have also been moving up from say only 20 cities to now roughly 130 cities.
Right.
More number of 250 dealers and all. So the plan is made according to those numbers, and we have been hitting the numbers what we have been saying.
Right.
So for example, last year 50,000 was not that we had projected.
Right.
We had taken that as a number, and we then backward planned that we needed a Tiago kind of a product.
Right.
And therefore it was planned that if we don't bring Tiago, this is not. So we have to also plan as individual players of how we grow this market
Right.
to a level. Many a times in the past 2 years I have said that we want to be 25%
Right.
of penetration in 5-year period. 2
Right.
years back we had said. We are on that journey
You're on
already
track
around
for that.
14 to 15% today.
Right. Right. Yeah.
With all the products that we mentioned just now, by 2024, we would be possibly faster than that.
Right.
And we have also taken the ambition that we should be 50% penetration by 2030.
Right.
And we will
Absolutely.
work
I
towards
think,
that with the combination
Chairman
of...
had also made that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And therefore it is about setting that aspiration and then working towards that. What other players are going to do is something which is not in our control.
Right.
If they come also and all the other ecosystem players also take interest and accelerate this journey, possibly we might be better than what we are targeting.
Right.
In combination with effort of all
Right.
the ecosystem.
And you know, Shailesh, I think the vehicle we are sitting in, the Tiago EV, today it is the best-selling EV
Yes.
in the country. I mean, let's be honest, it's not super high-tech. It's based on a ICE platform, but obviously this is a formula which is working, and this is what the customer wants. How do you see this evolving? You know, there's talk of skateboards. You're also coming out with Gen 2, Gen 3. But do you still think at the end of the day, customers really not interested in what platform it sits on or what, I mean, what the architecture is? They just want something that is practical, gives them decent performance, range, refinement, and basically the attributes the Tiago has.
You know, when you talk about the electric vehicle buyers, right? When we talk about the electric vehicle buyers, we are in the early adopter or early majority stage,
Right.
They are people who like future ready features, right? The new features or new technologies which are coming.
Right.
And if you don't give those features,
Right.
and that basic minimum expectation, they will not buy, right?
Right.
That is number one. At the same time, your car has to be of practical use,
Right.
right? That is hygiene, I would say.
Right.
If you see Tiago,
Right.
what you see as an ICE Tiago versus what you see an electric Tiago, there is a difference.
Right.
In terms of the features that you get in an
Correct.
electric vehicle. Because when electric vehicles are 25-30% expensive as compared to the ICE counterpart,
You need to give a little bit more.
you have to give, and you
And
have to
something
give
more
those
and
features.
futuristic.
So therefore, this would
Yeah,
have
more
a connected
techie.
car.
Yeah,
This
that's
would
right.
have a bigger screen. So this is a very feature-rich vehicle. That
Right.
way.
Right.
So it all the cars, therefore, you'll see will be higher on technology. All are electric cars. It will be practical from an architecture.
Shailesh, great talking to you, and really amazing the pace at which this market has grown and driven by Tata Motors. Just one last thing I'm going to ask you to try and look into your crystal ball. 200,000, when can we expect that? I'm sure much, much faster than 5 years, but could you say we could reach the 100,000 per annum a year pretty soon?
Yeah, I would say that the, the last 50,000 actually, if I see the journey, right, it has,
Yeah.
I think it took us first 10,000, what we did would have taken us nearly 44 months.
Right.
Then 50,000 took us additional 15 months, 10 to 50,000. And the next 50,000 happened in 9 months. Now the next 1 lakh,
Yeah.
I think should happen in 12 to 14 months is what I would expect.
Right. So just calculating that within 2 years you could hit the next 100,000. Yeah. Amazing, Shailesh. Really, congratulations. Been an amazing journey. Look forward to many of your new products. And once again, I think, just lastly, I mean, how does it feel as, to be so-called a legacy player, one of the oldest in the market? Tata Motors history goes back to the 40s if you look at the company originally, leading something where startups normally are supposed to be leading the race. I just want to end on that. Must be a very satisfying feeling. Yeah.
It is very satisfying feeling because as Hormazd, I said initially, it was a bold step that we had taken, right? And it was all about driving the acceptance of a technology which is right for the nation. For Tata Motors, I think it was uh, accelerating the journey of moving from knowledge to expertise. And also, as individual professionals, like we all want a sense of purpose, right? Of doing what is the right thing for humanity, for nation, for the globe. I think as a combination of all these things where we have reached from where we started, it has been a great journey of attaining this 1 lakh. So 1 lakh is just a number, but those are the emotions that underlies that. So it has been a very satisfying journey.
Shailesh, thanks so much. And it's been a pleasure you driving me around in the best-selling EV in the country, and wish you all the best. Thank you, and congrats once again. Thank you.